Doom Scroller. This is day 2 of 20 days live. So the aim again is just for me to show up and unrehearsed and to share whatever's on my mind. And the purpose of it is, as silly as it sounds, is in an archetypal sense, finding voice, finding the comfort of speaking truth in a way that isn't dressed up or rehearsed or performative in any way. And we don't realize, I know it's true, but we don't realize how subtly we're always kind of showing up with a certain posture or a tone, subtly trying to be accepted, subtly trying to be liked, subtly trying to connect, trying a bit too hard even. So I'm sitting in the burbs in Western Australia, and I live on a corner, and there's a bit of a busy street coming by here, so I'll trial this, and if it doesn't work, I won't do it again. Because there's also people going about their days early in the morning. It's 8 o'clock on a Sunday. There's cars swinging by, there's people walking down for coffees, taking their dogs down to the dog park. So I'll see how this goes. But yeah, I'm thinking a lot about finding voice and the relationship that has with authenticity and embodiment. And I heard David White on an interview recently, and he's a poet that I've apprenticed myself to his work. If you don't know who he is, I recommend you go and look up a piece called Santiago on YouTube. And the person who published it is the account or the channel is called Lazarus. Listen to it. It's David White reciting the poem Santiago, set to music. And hey Zoe, and the piece that David White recites is, he does it in a beautiful way, and it's set to this carrying sort of music, and it's about the Santiago. It's the Camino, Santiago Camino, Santiago de Compostela, and it's that walk that people do through France and Spain, almost to the edge of the world, the place called Finisterre. And it's supposed to be like a sort of Catholic pilgrimage, but people from all over the world do it anyway. He's talking about that, and it's got this epic resonance with us and our journeys. There's a beautiful line in it that said, the road seen and then not seen. The road seen and then not seen. The hillside hiding, then revealing the way you should take. The road rising up to meet you and then dropping away, leaving you to fall, and then suddenly catching you when you thought you would fall. And the road in the end, always the way that you came, the way that you followed, the way that brought you here. And it's a long, beautiful piece. It really talks about these journeys of the road appearing and then disappearing. And one of his beliefs is when the road disappears, that's exactly how you know you're on your own journey. Because if you're following a well-lit path, well-formed path, it's usually someone else's. And one of the things that David White says, specifically about finding voice and about speaking up in the world at the moment, is he has this way of describing it, that he said if you watch people that are not used to speaking, they go up on stage, for example, or you call them out in a meeting. I don't mean in a negative way, but you elicit their feedback. And when there's a crowd watching them, people actually sort of rise up and they stiffen up and they speak from the top of their heads, and they almost go on their tiptoes. And the attention and the embodiment almost becomes disembodied. We're not in our bodies, so to speak, when we're speaking. And if I'm speaking from up here, it doesn't matter how intense I'm saying it, it just becomes a lot less interesting suddenly. And his suggestion is to drop back down into the body, actually, and to connect your feet to the ground, connect to the seat that you're sitting in or the place that you're standing. And the lower down you can sink in, there's this, can folks just let me know if the background noise is too much? There's this stillness and settledness and kind of belonging and presence that comes along when you drop in there. So one of the things of finding voice is just that familiarity, that comfort, that the equivalent of like a psychological muscle memory of dropping in and being present in your own body and hearing your own self speak, especially if you're doing something like speaking into a microphone or a camera. It's so, it galvanizes your self-awareness in such a strange way that you're almost meta-watching yourself, making a fool of yourself, not knowing how you're going to finish the sentence that you start and umming and ahhing. And the worst thing I can do, or we can do, is try and sound right, try and sound like the people that we want to emulate so that our voice can carry better or mean more or land better. And so I've been meditating so much on this idea of finding voice and the relationship that it has for me with authenticity, because at the end of the day, if you can't speak your own truth in your own words, if people do or don't like you, what they really like is the performance that you put on. And we can't all sustain these performances. And the cause that I care about, to me, is so meaningful. The reflections that I've come to is, if you want to speak vulnerably into the field, especially about eliciting support and interest for a cause, then you have to speak from that, right from the heart of that. And you also have to talk directionally to someone. Assertion is not just vague, it's directional and intentional. And so it made me think about, where is this place that I'm speaking from? And it's a place of grief, actually. It's not quite despair, but it's a place of grief, watching the world unravel and watching how we're all actually such adolescents and so innocently caught up in these thimbles of drama and concern that we think are so important, which honestly include our day jobs, some of our relationships. I'm not saying relationships are shallow. They are the most profound things we can do in this life, is engage in relationship. But what we've normalized as relationships, and the drama we attach to it, and just think about how it was when you were at school, trying to garner attention and trying to keep that attention and trying to play that social dynamic of having enough social capital and being liked enough and being accepted enough. How seriously you took that. Yeah. And then looking back now and realizing it was completely understandable, but it was such a farce as well. You know, we took ourselves so terribly seriously as teenagers. And only when we sort of hit the reality of adulthood, tragedy comes and finds us, hardship comes and finds us, the reality of life comes and rudely awakens us, do we only then realize how silly we were maybe as teenagers. And another thing David White says, he said, but what is transformation except the self hitting reality, unfolding reality at terminal velocity and shattering apart on impact. And I mean, this is how we all come into these moments of initiation into life, very rudely, without a map, completely unprepared for the enormous delta that exists between how serious we thought something was and then how foolish we feel in hindsight, because the projects that we pursue are so trivial and so small. And we get drawn deeper and deeper into life through relationships, through becoming a husband or a wife, through becoming a parent. When you suddenly connect to something that you care about very, very deeply, suddenly you're so enormously vulnerable in that way. And it's in that heart of vulnerability that I'm connecting with, because I'm looking at the world and all of us that are taking politics so terribly seriously, to the point where us taking ridiculous things over seriously is what's causing the real harm. We're normalizing silliness. We're normalizing terrible ways of engaging with other human beings and trying to solve problems. And I'm not a politician. I'm not a economist. I'm a million small things. But what I am is a human being and a husband and a father, and I'm a man in this world. And even just to stand up as a man in this world is a precarious thing. somebody's policing that, somebody's demarcating lines about what is too little and too much. And none of that makes room for the authentic conversation that's unfolding in me and must be unfolding in 100 other people, 1,000 other people, 1,000,000 other people. Especially if we are realizing that the environment that we're in is profoundly sick. Jiddu Krishnamurti said famously that it's no measure of good health to be well adjusted in a profoundly sick environment. And we're struggling just to stay sane and to stay connected and to stay coherent. And we're watching the unfolding drama, wondering, where is the leadership going to come from? Where is the sense of human value and coherence going to emerge again? When are we going to give more of a shit about how we get through this moment than we do about whose fault it is? Or, I wrote down the other day, I said, if Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos carry on behaving with their money the way that they're behaving at the moment, they're going to break the way that money was useful to us all in the first place. It doesn't matter how you feel about these people personally or politically. What matters is the failure of supporting the shared human project that we all have. And I'm saying this not just abstractly, philosophically. I feel it. I fucking feel it. We've got a 3-year-old that I care more about than anything on this earth, way more than my own wellness and prospects. But guess what she needs? She needs a mummy and a daddy, and she needs people around her. And ultimately, she's going to wake up in her own rude awakening into the world, out of this nest that my wife and I can create for her. And she's going to encounter this fucked up reality of the world, this disingenuous, cynical, backstabbing, capitalist, eternal growth, eternal competition. It's not a wholesome place. It's not a wholesome place, and there's no way that we can insulate ourselves enough or teach her to insulate herself enough to become like all the other people who are just amassing means and power and wealth and status so that they can insulate themselves from the shared sickness that we're all helping to create. And I fucking believe with every fiber in my being that the way that I show up, my presence, my discernment and my intentionality, how I show up in my day can inform the quality of choices I make and the stance that I adopt to things. And that means, it must mean, that I can shape the reality that unfolds for me tomorrow. And if I can do that, 10 people can do it. And if 10 people can do it, 1,000,000 people can do it. But we're not even fucking trying. We're just accepting the sick norm of what's going on at the moment. And it's becoming so important for me to rattle people, but not in a brutal, I told you so way, but Jesus fucking Christ, look at what's happening. Look at what's happening. No one else is coming. No one else is coming to rescue us. The answer is not going to come from some messianic billionaire or from some political leader that's suddenly going to pick up the torch and run us all towards, like the Pied Piper, over towards the hill of a brighter future. A brighter future, the future can only be bright if the better versions of ourselves can get there. And we're not even connected to the right project in this life. When we're not connected to the right project, there's 1,000,000 causes and things that people care so deeply about that I can see are important. And I'm not denigrating trans rights or animal activism. I totally understand all of that. But if the human race doesn't figure its shit out, if we can't put maturity and necessity at the top of that apex of what's most important and most relevant, how is that not the tide that's going to raise all boats? If we're not here today or tomorrow in the same way, and all the liberties that you still have, everything that's still possible today can still get taken away, can still erode even further. The forces that are shaping our world and our reality, while we are allowing it to happen unconsciously, while we're not standing up and marshalling our own sovereignty and our own agency, while we're not finding our sense of voice and leadership and hell no inside of us and deciding what it is that we're saying fuck yes to, something else, something non-human, something uncaring, algorithms and such things are making those choices for us. They're making those choices for us, and I can promise you that the direction that it's leading us is not a good place. I'm 50 now and my daughter's 3, which means I've got another 20 years of like sanity and virility left. However long I live, I'm not going to be that hale and virile and physically present for her, and I won't be able to protect her and guide her and shield her. And at the end of the day, I can't boil the ocean. Somewhere along the line, she's going to turn around to me and she's going to start realizing how deeply fucked the world is. And she's going to say to her mother and her father, who she has implicit trust in, did you know that this was happening? And what are we going to say? I'm going to say yes. And then she's going to say the next question that I would ask is, what did you do? Not like, how could you let this happen? But what did you do? That is the source of my love. That's the source of my despair. That's the source of my desperation, actually. But, you know, desperation on its own doesn't get a lot of things done. I'm going to have to articulate some intelligent thoughts. I'm trying to rouse people, rouse them in their hearts. And one of the ways that I'm trying to rouse people is, first of all, don't you connect with this reality that I'm talking about? And then if you do, what are we going to do about that? Because there is so much bullshit on the internet about Instagram philosophy and Instagram spirituality. And there's writers on Substack writing wonderful articles, and there's artists creating wonderful art. But it's not fucking coherent. No, we're not aiming towards a great so that matters actually to all of us. There's no sense of the human tribe and one wholeness that makes room for all of our diversity. We're just not having adult, meaningful conversations. We're having lots of necessary conversations, but I don't think the most necessary one. Now, for me to be able to say that, the only place I can say that meaningfully is on the internet. And the internet itself is it's a hellscape. It's an absolute hellscape. And the only thing that's going to make that change is people like you and I that suddenly realize that how we behave on the internet, how we engage, even on videos like this, the fact that we show up at all and give these sorts of things airtime, comment, teach the algorithm what humans value, because it will just do the thing that we make it do if we give the right things the right kind of attention at the right times in the right way. If we don't bring our presence in discernment and intentionality to this project, then all we have is despair, really. And right now, there's this tiny window of opportunity I think we have where something is still possible. There's this tiny window of opportunity we have where something is still possible. Just look 5 years back, how much the world has changed. What was possible then that's no longer possible now? That's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. And I'm not trying to make everybody panic. I'm not trying to preach doom. The doom is already here. You know, we need to wake up and start responding a little bit differently. And so many people on social media are doing what they're doing to build brands, to get likes, to honestly, like I don't relate to or resonate with that project. I'm not doing that. I'm trying to pull together a community of people that give a shit about things, that want to ask serious questions about what does love look like right now, and what can we do? What can we seriously do? What can I do in my life? And I mean, I can maybe talk about this tomorrow, but there was a guy I met called Patrick McCormack, and he was in Ireland when we were on a walking tour, and he moved about the place with such command and such mastery, but he was so close to the land, and he was so serious about the things that he cared about conservation of the relationship with place, and considerations about ancestors. Not in a woo-woo spiritual way, just in a real pragmatic, grounded, necessary way. And the prospects of looking after the land so that the land can look after us. Take this out of the conversation of the feather wavers and the crystal wavers and the people who stare breathily into each other's eyes like this. I don't know what those people are achieving, really. But as he took us on that walking tour, we were going over a place called the Burren. And the Burren is pockmarked. It's made of limestone. And it's this raised highland area, very beautiful and very windswept and very rugged. And as we were walking, there's these enormous black fissures, like potholes almost, in the limestone. They herd sheep up there. and they have for thousands of years. It's in Ireland, by the way. And we're walking along, and he's warning people, you can slip your foot and go, it can almost go thigh deep. Your leg can go thigh deep into these holes, and you can snap and break it quite easily. And lambs and sheep can also get caught down there. So what him and the other farmers and anybody who's crossing the land does, there's an etiquette that whenever you find a hole that looks dangerous, you find a loose stone and you throw it and you wedge it in that hole and you pack a bit of turf in it, and then you've done your bit. And as he would move around, there were these little limestone walls that were built for miles. You can see them all over the landscape. And if he was ushering that group of 20 or 30 of us through that landscape, he would just quickly dismantle the wall. It looked like magic to me, because it took effort to lift these stones up. And then as soon as everybody had passed through that hole in the wall, he would just assemble it, fabricate the wall back together again. And something stuck with me as a poet. I just thought to myself, this is it. You don't have to mend every wall in the world. You just have to mend the ones you cross. When you do break boundaries down, you have to give thought to why that boundary was there in the first place. Was it there to keep sheep in or keep sheep out? Was it there to help people figure out where the limits of things were? Because good walls make good neighbors too. And the other thing was, he didn't walk around fretting about every single hole on the burren. He just encouraged us to cover the ones that we encountered. Now, that is very simple philosophy. You don't have to resolve or break down all the limiting boundaries in the universe or in the world. You just have to mend the ones that you come across. And you still have to give yourself permission sometimes to dismantle them and move past them and put them back, because those boundaries can sometimes be keeping somebody else safe. And the second thing is, you don't have to solve all the problems and all the holes in all of the world. But if we all got that etiquette of sharing the road in such a way that we normalize just filling the holes that we encounter on our journeys, what a difference that would make, and how simple that would be. Now, there's a lot of such wisdom that I have, and there's a lot of such wisdom that we can employ as human beings. And there's people that think like me, there must be, that have their own troves of wisdom that we could be collectively distilling and making better of this moment. And I mean, that's my rant and my ramble for today. It's about me coming on, finding my voice, finding that place that I'm speaking from, remembering again who I'm speaking to, which is people that resonate with us. I don't want to persuade anyone. I don't want to get clicks and likes for the hell of it. I want to connect with human beings that connect with this understanding. That's what I want. And I think that's what we need as well. And why I'm speaking, it's for Maya, for my daughter, for her generation that's going to inherit the world from us and have so much work to do. So much work to do. And right now, so many of us are unconsciously part of the problem more than we are part of the solution. And I think that can change. So I'm going to thank you to Zoe and Sean for sticking around. I really appreciate that, because without human beings on the other side of this, this is just me speaking into the void. So I'm sincerely grateful. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a beautiful day.